Well, we start in Tanzania following reports of clashes between police and the Maasai community in the town of Loliondo, north of Tanzania. One police official has since allegedly died. 10 Maasai leaders were detained and more than 30 people wounded during the violent clashes as they protested against evictions from their ancestral land. The territory has been earmarked to make way for a luxury game reserve. For a further discussion on this, we're joined by lawyers at the Legal and Human Rights Center in Tanzania, Tito, Magoti and Advocate Joseph Shangay. A very good morning to both our guests joining us via video link this morning. But I want to start with you, Tito. Perhaps just take us through what exactly is happening in Loliondo. What exactly is causing the tensions that we're seeing between the community, the Maasai community, and authorities there?
Oh, thank you, Ntokozo. In fact, the tension is historical. There's been an historical clash between the...
All right, we appear to have lost our audio with Tito there joining us. Tito, I'm afraid we're struggling to hear you right now. Perhaps let me pose that question to our other guest, Advocate Joseph Shangay. Advocate, take us through what exactly is happening in that territory. Why are we seeing these clashes? Tito has already alluded to the fact that this may, in fact, have a historical context.
Okay. Thank you very much. Briefly, why this is happening is really, as Tito said, is an historical phenomena. Loliondo has been operated by Hotel Business Corporation for hunting purpose since at least 1993, but is not an exclusive protected area. It has never been, it is not today. So the Maasai has been living there from time immemorial, from before the colonial time they were living there, and there has never been a law that extinguished their right to land until today. So what happened? The government now want to annex a part of that land, 1,500 square kilometers, to make it an exclusive land for trophy hunting, for wildlife massacre. But it is a good name to say trophy hunting. They always like that. So what happened on June from 6 to 10, because the clashes, and actually it's not the clashes, it is actually a one-sided attack by the police. Of course, we know it has been reported one police is dead, but the government is confirming it is on site. But over 31 people has been wounded, 20 people has been detained, and actually 2 days ago were charged with murder, despite the fact that there were many of them, more than half, were arrested before 10. They were arrested, many of them on 9, all the political leaders, but now charged with murder. So the issue here is they want exclusive huntings for the Dubai ruler and others, and that's why they want to remove the Maasai out of their territories. So this is the reason behind.
Yeah. Joseph, what kind of consequences or implications are we likely to see if the authorities are successful in this eviction? Because I understand there are about 70,000 Maasai people that are expected to be affected by these evictions should they in fact go ahead. What sort of consequences are we likely to see, not only with the community obviously being displaced, but also just in terms of the local biodiversity? The Maasai people are a community that live alongside their local natural sort of habitat, their natural environment. They work together with the natural environment. What sort of implications or consequences are we likely to see with that level of mass migration?
Okay, if this process is going to succeed, despite the violence, which is almost one of the consequences we are now seeing, displacement as you are saying, but this will have a serious impact, not only to community, but to the nature, as you said, with the biodiversity. Yes, the Maasai are known, and they are not only known, they have been the custodian of the nature, and this is why, if you look on Ngorongoro, Serengeti, Mara, is the home for the largest terrestrial mammals on Earth. It is under the Maasai custody that this fact happens. and they are now being accused of threatening them by people who have wiped almost every single animals in their own territories. So what is the implications? We have undertaken actually our own independent study and submitted to the government, to the Prime Minister. We have shown them what implication does the nature has if you remove the Maasai. And we have taken a case study of the Ngorongoro crater. The Maasai were removed out of the crater in 1974. Their settlement within the crater floor. But today, half of the wildlife, the wildebeest, the small wildlife, has all got out of the crater and gone out to the highlands to live along the Maasai bombers. So, which otherwise, if you are to relocate the Maasai, the same phenomena might happen. But again, there is an issue of resource use. Those areas, for example, we have given an example of the crater, that it is starting to be bushy area, which is not good for the wildlife. So the very moment you are to relocate the Maasai, people think it is only for displacement of the people, which is a very serious one, but also it will be having serious impact to nature. But they think they will do that because they say sustainable hunting. So you reduce the wildlife by killing them, and there are no other like cattle to use the resources for pasturing, which otherwise the place will remain unused as required by the nature. So which otherwise you are entirely affecting the biodiversity, which led to encroachments of the new species that ultimately eradicates the ecosystem as it is studied now. So it will have a very serious impact to not only the people, which is very serious. You are going to resettle the society, attack their identity, attack their spirituality, because some people think you are just taking a piece of land. You are taking their faith. You are taking their culture. You are taking their pastoralism, which is, as true implication, is both economical and also spiritual. They have a very close attachment to cattle, like the land. This will not remain the same again.
Right. Well, I see we have Tito back on the line with us. Welcome back, Tito. We have Joseph, who has already explained to us the extent of the impact that we're likely to see if the Tanzanian authorities are successful with these evictions. We have noted the widespread effect of that. I think this begs the question then, what sort of legal protections do the Maasai people have in this instance? We are talking about an indigenous people who are clearly having their ancestral lands under threat. Do they have any rights to the land? What sort of legal protections are afforded to them in this instance that human rights lawyers and activists such as yourselves can then stand on to try and advocate for them?
Thank you, and my apology for missing a few points that my colleague Joseph made. But in fact, it has to be clearly understood that it is the duty of the state to protect the citizens, including special groups, or people are categorized to belong to special classifications, such as indigenous people, including the Maasai. So since it is the government's role to protect or to provide maximum legal protection for everyone. In this kind of circumstance, we find a failed situation almost everywhere to offer legal support and the legal protection for these people. Because if you look at the systems through which they can navigate their claims and through which they can obtain reliefs, you can find that the government has almost caught and pocketed every mechanism that would have helped the Maasai. It is yesterday that we had about 13 leaders of Maasai being arraigned in court for a framed murder case. You can imagine. It is almost a week now we are hearing that someone, this or that Maasai leader is missing from their residence. We are hearing that they are barred from accessing medical services in hospitals, which is why they cannot even go to the police to secure a police form which would certify their access to medical services. So given these circumstances, it is apparent to say that there is no adequate legal mechanisms through which the Maasai can channel their claims. But also with the civil society actors, we actually squeezed now to threats and intimidations, such that only a few of us are able to talk about this, and we are only stranded at a point where our legal system is pocketed in the hands of the executive. And if we look at the parliament, where we expect adequate voices for the voiceless, including the indigenous people of Loliondo, our parliament is now almost 100% an extended ruling party caucus, which is why we cannot even be assured of critical discussions related to this unlawful land grabbing process. So it remains to be seen as to whether the people from the legal society, the civil society organizations, only a few of us, if we can at all persuade or pursue some actions in our cracked legal system.
Right.
But also we really depend on collective voices from the continent and across the world. Because if our systems are not working internally, we trust in solidarity around the global. So you can see the challenges we are facing, and while operating in this kind of environment, we rarely also count on the solidarity from our brothers across the continent.
Right.
So it is really tricky to advocate for rights of the Maasai, provided that there are no adequate mechanisms for obtaining redress.
Right. I mean, we unfortunately have reached the end of the conversation, and I just want to give you an opportunity, Joseph, to give us your parting shot. We clearly have another David and Goliath case on our hands. My understanding is that the contract for this luxury game reserve is a 2017 dated contract by a UAE investor looking to create some sort of elite tourism. So we're talking about lots of money being involved here, and we are talking about a vulnerable group that is clearly in need of protections, as Tito has outlined for us. What is the next step at this point?
Okay, the next step, and I think I will start where Tito ended, and actually from your questions previously. The place subject to dispute is subject to the East African Court of Justice case, reference number 10 of 2017. In 2018, the court issued orders, temporary orders against the government that it should halt that process pending determination of the case. And the case is coming for judgment on 22nd June. Almost next week, actually next week. But the government is rushing so far, maybe for fear that it might lose the case. And this is why they are using violence all over. So what is the next step? One, actually, because the next week is not so far, we are waiting to see what will happen with the court judgments. But again, we need to account these systems. We need to account through local and international channels, because it is violating Tanzania constitutions. Actually, the place subject to dispute is not any sort of game control, is not any game of any sort of protected areas, at least by the spirit of the Tanzanian law, Wildlife Conservation Act. It is not at all. But they are using violence to ensure that that happens to be. So what we'll do in the future, one, actually we are waiting for the court case. It will help us. They might disrespect the court orders if they lose, as they have done with the 2018 orders. Right. But we'll try to account it through other process. We'll go to courts, to other different courts. It depends on the issue that is arising, because now is a new fact, actually, different from the 2017. So maybe we are going back again to court, including the violation of the court orders.
All right. Well, we are unfortunately going to have to leave it there. Those were the lawyers at the Legal and Human Rights Center in Tanzania, Tito Magoti and advocate Joseph Shangay, talking to us there about the ongoing tensions in the northern parts of Tanzania between the Maasai community and Tanzanian authorities.